Hello, my name is Tihomir Georgiev. I'm from the Medical University of Varna and I will present a very brief introduction to Regulation 2017-745. This video is created only for general information. Regulation 2017-745, often called Medical Devices Regulation, replaced the then existing Directive 93/42/EEC for the medical devices and 90/385/EEC for active implantable medical devices. In vitro diagnostic medical devices are under Regulation 2017-746. This is a very brief introduction to medical devices regulation. The regulation defines what a medical device is and what is not. I will not read the complete descriptions because they are very detailed and also can change, but some examples of devices under this regulation are products used for diagnosis, prevention, monitoring, treatment, and so on of disease or disability. Products that are not under this regulation but are covered by other regulations and directives. For example, these are blood and blood products, transplants, tissues and cells of human or animal origin, and others. They are devices that are not medical according to the definition: contact lenses, certain devices used for brain stimulation, and other devices. They are described in Annex 16. It is stated that measures such as risk management and, if necessary, clinical assessment also apply to these devices. One clarification in the regulation is that software that serves medical purposes is also a medical device. This refers to the purpose, not the location of the software. Accounting software used in a hospital is not a medical device. Products that meet the requirements of the regulation must be properly marked with a CE mark to have a declaration of conformity issued by the manufacturer and, depending on the class, a certificate of conformity issued by a notified body. A certificate issued by a notified body is required for classes 2A, 2B, and 3. But these bodies are also involved in certain procedures for class 1. In the case of sterile devices, reusable surgical instruments, and measuring instruments, but only in relation to these specific functions. A list of the notified bodies accredited to issue a certificate under the regulation can be found on the website of the European Commission. Only after proving compliance with the requirements of the regulation, the products can be placed on the market or put into service. Manufacturers are also required to have a risk management system and a quality management system. In some cases, devices may not have CE mark provided they meet the specific requirements. For example, if these devices are custom-made for a specific patient, or if they are put under clinical investigations and have clear marking there for clinical investigation and comply to the regulation articles about clinical investigations. Also, devices for exhibitions, demonstrations, and so on, provided they are clearly marked they are only for demonstrations and are not yet available. How to proceed if the manufacturer is not from a European Union member state? The manufacturer is obliged to designate an authorized representative. Amongst duties of the authorized representatives are to check the CE marking, to have the declaration of conformity, the relevant technical documentation, certificates, etc. Importers and distributors are also required to check the CE marking and the presence of a declaration of conformity, UDI registrations, and so on. Importer's name shall be also placed on the device or its packing. An important requirement introduced by the regulation is that manufacturers must employ a person to be responsible for the compliance of the product with the requirements. As it is considered that such a requirement may be too burdensome for small businesses, they may not employ such a person, but must have such a person available. Thank you.